Biggest mistake people make is using themselves as a role model, thinking, I am the way. No, you have to have a high level of narcissism in you.
Is it possible to identify a color of a person in less than a minute?
Yes.
Can you give us just an example? Like, what is my color? Like, and how did you identify that?
You're quite result-oriented, I would say, meaning you have a lot of red in you. I can see it in your face, you're focused, you are well prepared, but you are also a bit spontaneous. Psychopaths are not like you and I. They would kill your baby if you let them. Like the hyena on the prairie. That is what a psychopath is.
When in your life did you feel the most misunderstood?
Probably when I told my family I wanted to write books. And they just looked at me and said, sure, but why? Why would you want to do that? You're a banker. You should work at the bank.
The psychopaths. Is it possible for people to spot a manipulation in a very short period of time or not? Or manipulation gets over time?
This is not good people. Red people can be very good and very helpful. Psychopaths are bad people. These are predators. Can you spot a psychopath? No. The quick answer is you can't. Some of the ugly animals, they kill for the sake of killing, not necessarily because they're hungry. Like wolves, they kill, and a fox kills because it's a killer. It's a predator. Doesn't have to eat all of it, it just kills.
Thomas Erikson, the Swedish author whose book sold more than 20 million copies and made everyone ask the same question. Am I surrounded by idiots? Or do I simply not understand people? Do you think that people are using the color scheme to really understand people or to judge them? How do you see it from people? Like, you are a yellow. You understand that type? You are a red.
You should never judge anyone.
Welcome back, Alphas, to another inspiring episode of the Alpha Talk Show, the number one business and success show in the region. Today, we're not just talking business, we're talking human behavior, power, the psychology behind every decision we make. My guest has changed the way millions understand people, a man whose ideas created debates, triggered critics, empowered leaders, and reshaped the world of communication. The Swedish author whose book sold more than 20 million copies and made everyone ask the same question. Am I surrounded by idiots, or do I simply not understand people? From surrounded by idiots to surrounded by psychopaths and surrounded by narcissists, he exposed the hidden patterns behind why we clash, why we love, why we fight, and why we repeat toxic cycles, and why we understanding people is an ultimate competitive advantage. But behind the colors, behind the theories, stands a man who's only felt deeply misunderstood himself, a man who turned frustration into a global framework and turned observation into a worldwide movement. So today we dive into the human mind behind the man who decoded it. This is the story, the psychology, and the truth. From Thomas Erikson, the author who made the world rethink what it means to understand each other. Welcome to the Alpha Talk Show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invitation.
It's it's a pleasure to have you. Thomas, let's start by saying, like, behind all the colors, before even the fame, before the 20 million books sold, who were you? And what made you be obsessed by understanding people?
That's a great starter. Who are you really? Make sure you have the right
Yeah.
guy on the show, right? Well, I'm a
It's not
gardener.
that meaning.
That happened to me once, and I said, well, I'm a gardener. I like to work outside. And they looked at me and said, no, what's going on? I said, sorry, just kidding. Oh,
What's happening?
dear Lord. No, I'm a behaviorist, an author, keynote speaker, mentor for certain people. I am fascinated by human behaviors, as you briefly mentioned there in your introduction. Very kind, by the way. I messed it up as a young man. I certainly did. I made a fool out of myself too many times, and I had to shape up how I behaved and acted around other people, really. So I started investigating myself. I jumped on a journey. Oh, this is many, many years ago. It's over 30 years ago. And I'm still on this journey because, self awareness is one thing. And how do you reach 100%? I don't think you can do that. But I'm still learning more about me and trying to share my knowledge, share the tools that I use to do so, share my experiences with people, and trying to make people understand each other a little bit more. I mean, the world is a complicated place, right? It's not about
Of
business
course.
only, it's about within families, the bigger family, the smaller family, in your neighborhood, your friends, in society in general. It's a tricky place, and I think we all can do a little bit better in order to, sort of get along.
Of course. But what was the moment that made you realize that people don't communicate the same way? What was the moment that?
When was the moment? Well, there's more than one moment, and if you refer to where I mean, as this is a business podcast, right? And as I
It's
mentioned in
a
the books,
business and more of a story. True,
more of a
true.
story. Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. Well, there is a couple of stories. Really, I'm an ex-banker. My favorite story is when I
Hmm.
was a young man at the age of 24. I was a great sales guy. I could sell anything to anyone. Well, knock on wood, but
Hmm.
kind of. I was speaking about self-awareness. He kind of boosted himself there. No, but I was a great sales guy, and so I thought maybe I could be a great team leader as well for other salespeople. So one job, another job. What could be the problem there? Turns out quite different task really to lead other people than to sell to customers, to clients at a bank. And I speak about messing it up. I messed it up badly, severely. Whatever the team came to me with, individuals to say, how should we do in this situation? I said, well, fix it. Well, what about that? Well, fix it. Well, how about this? How about that? Fix it, just fix it. And after a while, I realized I didn't have any answers. I was busy managing, sort of being a boss here, right? I'm jumped on a
True.
career. I can't answer all these questions, which is kind of stupid, of course. So I went to my manager's manager 2 levels up and said, you probably need to get rid of me because I don't know what I'm doing here really. And he said, well, you better stay put, Sonny, because your boss is even worse than you. She's not even here. So we can't, you can't leave. Finally, I managed to get out of this because it was bad. I really didn't know what to do. I was in deep waters, deep, deep waters. And when you have this, you sit around the coffee table, someone baked a cake, maybe have some coffee or tea, and they wish you best of luck on your next step on your journey in your career. We had that meeting. They give you a present, a gift of some kind. They didn't give me anything. I gave them a plant, basically said, I'm
Hmm.
sorry. This is a true story. And afterwards, the HR department called me up and said, would you fancy a personality test? And I said, sure, I'm a willing learner. And they
Hmm.
handed me this disc profile. And I said, this is a horrible reading. Is this what people see when they meet me? And they said, yep.
True.
Do you want to talk about it? And I said, I better do that. And they said, you better come in here. So that's where it really, really started at the age of, well, I was 25 now. But it made me think, if I realize this situation, if I sort of could just take off a little bit of the rough edges, because I was so smart when I was young. I'm not that smart anymore. At least my awareness
No,
of
no,
my
no, don't say that.
possible smartness has sort of gone down. And that is just the way it is, right? When you haven't so much life experience, you think you know everything. These days, I know almost
Mm,
nothing.
true.
Well, you understand what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, of
But
course,
I
of
started
course.
to start to look into myself, and I haven't stopped doing that ever since. And I think it is fascinating, this notion being surrounded by idiots. That's kind of irony, of course, and most people understand that. I
Mm.
say most people, not everybody, actually. I got an email just last week saying, "Oh, I picked
Yeah.
up your book here. Should we really call each other idiots? Haven't we reached further? 2025?" And I thought, okay, well, all right then. Maybe everybody doesn't see the irony
True,
there.
true.
But still, there aren't as many idiots around as you might think. There are a few, but they move around a lot, so you sort of run into them all the time. Some people find the idiot in the mirror. Happened to me once.
Hmm.
Didn't end happily.
Hmm.
So
True, true, true.
there you go.
Why you decided to color them? Why the color? Why colors?
Like colors. Colors
Yeah.
are easy to remember.
You know, there was, like there were complex, as you said, like the disc, there are complex namings, towards personality and all these things. And you decided to simplify it so much. So why colors came to your mind?
The colors,
Or it reflected something at that
yeah,
time?
the colors are there for a pedagogical reason. Someone came up with a brilliant idea. I can't take credit for this really, but I wrote about it, of course. But The colors are easier to remember than letters or numbers. It's easier to remember a
True.
red and yellow behavior instead of a high D over an I with a low C, or an ENTJ
Mhm.
personality. Sorry, INT. No, that's an ITPK. Well, red and yellow. There you go. So it sort of
True. True.
simplifies the method a little bit. It makes it easier for people to wrap their head around it. I prefer, I mean, this method gets some critique. Fine. All these methods get
Mm.
criticized. That's fine. I prefer a method that works in your daily life instead of a method that is 100% precise and exact. Those doesn't exist anyway.
True.
The human mind is really, really complicated. But I think this works in 80, maybe 85% of the cases. And the colors helps you. It's a yellow
True.
guy, it's a green guy. Oh, then I know sort of how to sort of tune into this instead of me explaining this one is looking for stability and he's a good listener, but it's also a bit conflicted. Where I just say he's green. There you go.
Right away. True.
Easy peasy.
True. Which color are you? And what is
Which
the
color
biggest
I am?
challenge it created for you? Yeah.
Well, I can test you a little bit. What do you think? Have you read the book?
Yeah, I did. I
You
did.
did?
But
Okay, so what would be
I
your best
believe
guess based on
people
what
are a
we
mixture.
have, we have known each other for like 9 minutes. What would be
Mm,
your take on this?
I would say like bluish towards bluish, and there is a flare of red.
Not that bad actually. I am quite blue. I'm equally red actually. I have a high blue bar, a high
Uh
red
huh.
bar. I also have quite some yellow in me. I have no green at all. I'm so sorry. It's on my mother's side. They took all the
Uh
green
huh.
there.
Yeah.
So, no, but I'm a
But
bit
it's
of a
really
I'm a bit of a
a blue red.
right, right. Well, I'm a bit of a chameleon myself, and I'm very fortunate that way. I have three relatively high bars, which means I can jump around a little bit and try to adapt. When I am writing, I'm quite blue because I need to be thorough in my research and all. When I'm doing business, I'm pretty red. When I'm on a stage, because I'm
Yeah.
a keynote speaker, I give lectures on a weekly basis, thousands of people every week. I bring out the yellow factor because people need some entertainment as well, right? They don't want me to read from an Excel
Yeah.
sheet. That would be really boring. So I had to sort of
True.
tell them stories and anecdotes and make them laugh a little bit so, to make them feel comfortable. So I'm very fortunate that way. That I can sort of switch between these things. I can also act green, even though I have absolutely no green in my profile, because I have practiced it. I know I'm lacking the green factors, but I can switch it on. I can just turn it on, and
Hmm.
then I'll turn it off because I
True.
can do it for a couple of
I
hours.
think it comes with the level of awareness, right? It comes from the level of awareness. When you're
Yeah,
aware, you can a little bit tune to different.
exactly.
Let me ask you an honest question. There are actual idiots, or we're just idiots not knowing how to communicate with them.
There are idiots. I mean, the definition of idiot.
Hmm.
There's an old definition from mental health care that says,
Uh-huh.
I mean, don't quote me. I'm just reporting. Way back,
Okay.
maybe 100 years, an idiot was someone with an IQ below 50, meaning he could hardly put one foot in front of the other. That was an idiot. We don't use that kind of language anymore, and that is good. We should not do that.
True.
It's very, very
True.
disturbing language. But an idiot is, in a modern world, an idiot is the one who doesn't get it, who doesn't understand me, a poor listener, or someone who can't stop talking, someone who misinterprets me, someone who doesn't pay attention, someone who have the wrong opinions. What an idiot. And of course, it's a bit of, as I touched upon before, it's a bit of an irony. We are not idiots, but we call each other names when we don't understand each other. Someone says, let's get started. Half of the room, finally, yes, let's do this. And the other half just, oh no, we're not in a hurry. Hopefully, we're not. It's the different direction on the same event that sort of divides us a little bit, right? If they want to,
True.
put on the running shoes and just get started, and these people just leaning backwards in the chair, based on the same instruction. What is wrong here? Who's right and who's wrong? It's really not about that, but it's a different perception of the same situation. People interpret reality differently. So the only way to get rid of idiots in your life is to understand people who are not like you. which is
True.
basically everybody else. I see that sir, you are a very unique individual now, aren't you? Of course you are. You are
Mhm.
absolutely in minority, and so am I. We are all in minority. We have to pay attention to other people. It sounds like a cliche, I know, but everybody sort of, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
we need to adapt to such certain situation, people skills, yeah, yeah, whatever. But how often are we actually doing it deliberately, in the
True.
right way, systematically? That's the key.
Of course. Do you think that people are using the color scheme to really understand people or to judge them? How do you see it from people? Like, you are a yellow, you understand that type? You are a red. It's a way of a judgment, or literally people should use the color to understand rather than to judge.
You should never judge anyone. You don't know this individual. It's one thing if it's your brother,
True.
you know, your father. That's one thing. But if it is someone you recently met, I mean, the first impression lasts, right? The first impression that we get from
True.
another individual, it sort of gets stuck within us, and I think that's bad because. I mean, it's human psychology. I can give you the reasons neuroscientifically why that is. It's about protecting ourselves. The brain is there for one reason, to protect us, to make us survive, not to make us feel good. That's just a misconception of the whole thing. The brain
Survive.
is there to make us survive in this brutal world. But when you get this first impression of someone, you make kind of a judgment. I like him or I don't like him. Okay, why do I like this person? He is a little bit like myself. He looks like me. He sort of sounds
Hmm.
like me. He has the same interest. He drives the same type of car. All of these things. Sure. Is that a good enough reason to do business with him? Maybe. Maybe not. You don't
Hmm.
know him really. And this guy I dislike because he interrupted me and he corrected me, twice. Yes, I was wrong. I was out there in the woods somewhere. So he was correct in a way. But I don't like people correcting me, even though I'm wrong. Should I do business with this guy? Someone who is honest enough and brave enough to correct a new acquaintance. Maybe that's the right person, actually. But the only way to understand this is if you dig a little bit deeper and check, you see if the first impression actually is the correct one.
That's correct.
5 minutes
Yeah.
is to really, it takes 30 seconds to 2 minutes before you make a decision, like or dislike. There's usually those things. Then you can sort of chisel it down into sort of minor details. Sure. But in order to, you have to sort of, what would you say? You have to verify if the first impression is the correct one. And therefore,
That's
you need
correct.
to ask questions. You need to pay some more attention. You need to observe this individual, read the body language, look at the facial expressions, look at the language he or she is using. Try to pay attention to these things. Talk as little as you could. And just open up your ears. Ask open ended questions. Make them act. The more you make this individual act, the more you can learn from them, right? Instead of just saying,
True.
let me tell you everything there is to know, and you just keep on, blah
Love
blah.
that.
Can't teach, can't learn
True,
anything
true,
because
true.
or everything you hear you say is you hear you say yourself saying, you already knew that. Everything that comes out from your own mouth, you knew that already. You nothing to learn there.
True. True, 100%.
Yeah.
A quick question, just to give the audience a little bit of nuggets.
Yeah.
Is it possible to identify a color of a person in less than a minute?
Yes.
Can you give us just an example? Like, what is my color? Like, and how did you identify that?
Your color, you're quite driven. You're quite result oriented, I would say. Meaning you have a lot of red in you. I can see it in your face. You're focused. You are well prepared, but you are also a bit spontaneous. You're not fixed. You're not following a
Hmm.
certain Excel sheet where you have this question, then you have to go to this question and this question. You like structure, but you're not navel gazing. You have to follow this
Hmm.
process each and every time. So I would say that then I know a little bit about you. I think you're a bit of an entrepreneurial type, which means you're sort of daring. But if you're doing business, let's say, you're also kind of good with people, meaning you probably have some yellow in you. You have this podcast. Why would you have a podcast? You want to reach out to people.
Hmm.
So I would guess, based on what I do
True.
know and what I can see, a combination of red and yellow. Probably, I would
Hmm.
guess more
Hmm.
red than yellow, but I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
would be checking you a little bit. Live, it would be easier because
Mm-hmm.
then I could read more of your body language. But you are nodding and you have an easy way. You can smile. If I say, could you please smile? You're going to
Mm-hmm.
smile now, right? Please don't.
True. Right
Exactly.
away.
If you were only red, you would say,
True.
I'm not going to smile for you. What stupidity is this? But the yellow
Yeah.
side of you says, yeah,
True.
I
True.
can
True.
smile a little bit. That comes natural. So
Yeah.
that would be my assessment.
Mm-hmm.
How wrong
If
am
we
I?
look at the four colors, no, 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 it's absolutely correct. By the way, it's absolutely correct. And I believe when I see you more in Dubai, once you come, I think you will give me the full one. But it's absolutely correct.
All right.
But let's move to the like some mistakes that each color do in communication with other people. Is there are really mistakes or there are no mistakes? It depends on the other person that they're communicating to.
Oh, there are plenty of mistakes that could be
Oh,
made.
cool.
I mean, communication happens on the receiver's terms, right? I mean, people hear what they hear, they see
Mm-hmm.
what they see, and when your message is put in there, filter through layers of attitudes and opinions and years, experiences, biases, prejudice, whatever. What comes out is what comes out. You can't do much about it. The more clear you can be about your message, regardless of what message it is, if you want to convince
Mm-hmm.
someone of well, it doesn't really matter what it is. You want to win someone over, or you just want to have an interesting conversation, or just a friendly chat, whatever. You need to know the other person. The mistake red people usually do is they just move along like a bulldozer. I mean, the red
Train.
stands for dominance, right? Task oriented extroverts. These people are the dominant ones. They are the alphas, alpha males, alpha females, sure. So they just, boom, 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 boom themselves through everything. They don't care if we don't love them, if we even don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have met so many red people. Yeah, my team doesn't like me at all, but I don't care because I'm achieving the results I'm here to achieve. So, you know, it's more of their problem.
True.
A yellow person, what his major mistake is, he's usually talking too much and listening too little. Yellow people are not good listeners. I'm sorry to break it to you. The yellow part in me and the
Mm-hmm.
yellow part in you and in everybody else, well, not in
Mm-hmm.
you, obviously, because you know this. Of course, where am I going with this? Oh, no. You can edit that out if you want. No, but seriously, the yellow people,
No, no,
they
no,
are
no, no. I love bro.
yellow people are exquisite talkers. They can find their way with words. They are so easy with words and communication. Then they make everything interesting and fascinating, and they can win anyone over. But they are poor listeners. Oh, they hardly hear anything. And if you don't speak about them enough in the beginning of a meeting, they're going to be a little bit, frustrated. How about
Tuned out.
me
Tuned
give?
out.
How about if I gave you some interesting points from my fascinating life? Wouldn't you want to hear a story? Oh, of course. The other week this happened to me, and then blah 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 blah. And that might be of interest, but sometimes it's not very interesting because they can't hear you speak. The green people are quite the opposite. They never speak if they feel uncomfortable, and they are excellent listeners. Green people hear what you say, and they will remember what you
Mhm,
said, especially if it was something bad. If it was something bad about the green
mhm,
person, ooh, that's going to be filed on shelf 1A for eternity. The green people, they let's say misinterpret different opinions as conflicts. If we don't get along, we have a conflict. They have a really bad way of looking at different attitudes and opinions and ways of looking at things. If we disagree, we must be in a conflict. So therefore, they just fall silent. They won't say anything at all. If you ask them,
true.
what do you think
Mhm.
about the topic XYZ? Well, I think exactly the same as everybody else. Have you asked them? Oh no, I'm asking you. Well, it comes so suddenly. I don't know. Can I sleep on it? No, no. I need your opinion right now. Ooh, that's a complete giveaway. They won't give you because they want to get along. They want to give you what you want to hear. So you can't be sure you are getting the truth out of them. This is tricky because they are kind, decent people, but they want to be friends. So therefore, they will say what they think you want to hear, even if you say, "Please give me the truth."
Mhm.
Give me the truth. I can handle it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that you would sort of be nice and kind to you. So that is their problem. They can't take it if it's going to get a little bit heated in the room. And the blues problems, well, that's quite obvious. They will get stuck in the Excel sheets. They plan themselves into year 3000, never leave the starting blocks. They are too slow very, very often, and they think everybody wants to hear the whole story. Fascinating. 19 years ago, it was this psychologist. He did this interesting study, and I just said, yeah, yeah, okay. And then what happened? And then he took 300 people. He put them in separate
Honey.
rooms. Half women, half men. I said, yeah. What was the result of the bloody study? Give me the result. Give me the last sentence. No, no. And then the following happened. And one mistake they did. Oh no. So they go walk you through all the bits and pieces in detail. It might be fascinating, but usually it's very boring, actually. So they need to
True,
speed up.
true, true, true.
Red and yellow people, they need to slow down, and green and blue people, they need to speed up a little bit, and they can meet each other
Speed up.
somewhere in the middle, I would say.
True. If we're talking about the strongest leaders or the great leaders, is there a particular color combination for them to be a strong and a great versus to be a disaster leader? What color combinations?
That's an excellent question. That's a really good question. Here we can see a cultural difference, I would say, between Sweden, where I am right now. I'm Swedish. Here in Scandinavia, northern parts of Europe, where the snow is falling right now, we have a certain way of looking at things when it comes to leadership and management, and that is anyone can be a great leader. I think it's a good. I say, okay. How should I put it? I think it's a great and it's a human notion. I trust anyone who works really hard and do the right things can achieve this and that and so on. That's a lovely thought, isn't it?
Hmm.
In reality, it's much harder than that. The higher up in any hierarchy, anywhere on this planet, the more red and yellow you're going to see. And at the top, you might find
Hmm.
only red. And that is not to say
Right.
red people are the best leaders, but they have sharper elbows, right? They are tougher. They can work them, they can elbow themselves up to the very top. They do
Mm.
not care if they step on a couple of people's toes on their way to the top. And also, as I touched upon before, if we don't like them for their actions, they can live with that. It's a job that's got to be done. If you don't adore me, I have friends on somewhere else. I don't need your friendship as well. While all of the other
True.
colors is a little bit sensitive to this. The red people tend to get to the top, and they are quite impatient, and they are willing to to put in the hard work. Sure, in I would say not maybe not in the rest of the world outside of Scandinavia. It is usually
Mm.
red people and actually quite a few blue people who reach the top positions. And I'm
Hmm.
generalizing, so don't say, "Oh, he's
Yeah,
wrong," because
true.
I know one
Mm.
guy in New Zealand, he's green. That I'm sure that is also the truth. In Sweden, we have leaders
Hmm.
in any capacity of any kind of color. Interestingly enough, statistically speaking, there is equally many green, reds, yellows, and blues in Dubai as there is in Stockholm in Sweden, because
Hmm.
it's a human way of measuring people. The tool itself, the
True.
disc profile, does not measure culture, and people are the same all over the place, which I did not know when I started this business. It's the same statistics in Japan as in Canada, in Poland as in Abu Dhabi, in Egypt as in Nicaragua, which is quite fascinating,
Mm.
wouldn't you say? People are people
True.
everywhere. The culture differs. That is the truth. That is correct.
Hmm.
So therefore, we incentivize different kinds of behaviors. In Eastern Europe, every CEO I have met is either blue or red because he's task oriented. In Scandinavia,
Hmm.
you could be again any color basically. Who is right and who is wrong? That's kind of not the case. Leadership, you can train yourself to be a leader. Sometimes you need a tough leader who can stand there in the storm and be the role model and roll up his sleeves and say, let's get dirty, let's do the grind here. I'm with you all the way. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need someone who can inspire and motivate you. Sometimes you need someone who can listen and
Hmm.
pay attention and be human. Sometimes you need someone who can strategize and be thorough in detail. So the situation, I would say,
Differs.
differs too much in order for me to say this would be the best possible way. What I usually do not
Hmm.
hire myself are green leaders because they are conflict
Okay.
averse. They do not like
Hmm.
conflict. Not to say they can't excel in certain fields because they actually can do that. Depends on what the team is like and what kind of business and so
Hmm.
on. But they do not like conflicts and leading people. It's a bloody tough job. It's tough,
Of course.
really tough.
Of course. Of course. If you give one advice to calm down a red character or a red type, what would be that?
The best advice to deal with red people. Well, you have to speed up. If you are the one meeting the red person, you have to speed it up. Cut the crap, get straight to
Okay.
the point. If you have a report to deliver that happens to be 9 PowerPoint slides, show them the first one. This is the problem, and then you show the last one, which where you find a solution. They do not have patience to listen to all the yabba yabba
Hmm.
between. They want to know where are we going. I will give you the solution. If you can cut a meeting from 60 minutes to 15 minutes, 5 minutes, you will be their hero.
True.
Don't give them any details unless they ask for them. You talk on a strategic
And how we
level
make people
constantly.
true. If we switch to green, how to make them commit?
Commit.
An easy way to make them commit. Yeah.
Green people are looking for stability. Green people, I mean, the drive within green people are very usually usually they want stability. They want to understand what will happen tomorrow, what it's going to look like the next week, the next month, the next 6 months. They want
Certainty,
to be
kind
able
of.
to foresee the future a little bit because they
Hmm.
don't like changes. That's another thing with green people.
Hmm.
To especially quick changes that makes them very unstable, and they don't like that at all. You will get the best out of a green person if you can provide them with some trustworthiness. If you say something and you deliver exactly that, otherwise they will be a little bit insecure because you said
Hmm.
A, now we're doing B, and finally C over there. That's not what you told me A. Where is A? The problem with green again is that they won't tell you. They won't tell you they are dissatisfied because they will just nod and say, mm-hmm, uh-huh, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of figure this out by yourself. The easy way is to do what you
Hmm.
told them to do, and then you just do it. So, yeah.
I have a question. Like we have now different generations, the Gen X, the Gen Y, the millennials, the Gen Alphas. Even a red in Gen X is different than a red in a Gen Z, for example, or not?
No,
Or like generational? Absolutely not.
no, no. What changes within societies are values, I would say, basic values.
Mm,
People's drivers, as in what they get motivated by, changes a little bit. My generation, I'm a Gen X, so you can see I'm an old as hell. I mean, my
no, no,
generation
no,
is
no, no.
partly driven by money. That is just the way it is. We like money.
Mhm,
We like to make money, and we like to use it for good things. I like to make money so I can give something back. That's why I invest in my own business constantly to build it
mhm,
and to reach more people and so on and so forth. Money in the bank is just boring, but we have no problem with sort of making a lot of money. We like that. It's okay to talk about it.
mhm,
I would say younger people are saying money is not the solution to everything, which is true, obviously. Of course, it's true. It's not the solution to everything. I had a discussion with our youngest son just the other week. We have four, 22, 24,
mhm,
30, and 34. And the youngest one
mhm,
said, well, you can't just chase money, which is absolutely correct. So we had a discussion what you can do with the money. Just putting them in a pile doesn't help anyone. You need to give something back.
true.
That's very, very important. And if you confuse these things, and you can see younger people are maybe a little bit more, what would you say? I wouldn't say naive. Well, maybe a little bit naive, but they are a little bit more. I'm looking for a word here. They are kind of positive in what they think about
Mhm.
humanity. They really believe
And
in
life.
in themselves and in each other. I think it's beautiful. I think we need to remind ourselves of about that. My generation, Gen X, can be a little bit hard sometimes. We can be a bit
Mhm,
insensitive. I understand that. I totally get that, and it's true that as well. But I think values, as in what are we contributing to? I mean, how are we taking care of the planet? All of these things are more important for younger people. Sure, some people have scared them and frightened them to too much, I would say. There are things to be concerned about, sure. There are absolutely things to be
Mm,
concerned about. But, I think it's more about values. I think it's more about listening to your inner emotions these days, regardless of what color you have. Actually, young people are better at talking about emotions. Sometimes they do it too much because facts are facts and feelings are feelings. It's
mm,
actually not the same thing. If you don't like the color beige, there's nothing wrong with beige. It's just that you just don't like it.
true.
There's nothing wrong with beige, but you don't like it. So wear pink if you want. What seems to be the problem here? These days, I think too many people listen too much to what it feels like in here. I don't like beige. I can't stand beige. Well, then you better move, somewhere else where they don't have beige. You can't change that. Beige is beige. Uh, but actually, from a level of statistics, we have a lot of data. 60 million analysis in a huge assessment pool,
Of
let's say.
course.
So we know the colors don't change very much. I would say my grandfather he was probably different than my grandchildren will be. My grandchildren will probably be a
Hmm.
little bit more extrovert than my grandparents were, but the change is slow, 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 slow. And again, it's about
Mm,
society. It's about where you are locally. In the UAE, you have a certain color. So sorry, certain culture, but the colors are the
mm.
same.
Culture.
We have another color here in Sweden. Uh, Confusing. Another culture, but the colors are the
Yeah.
same. I'm
Yeah.
speaking too much here.
True.
You know what I'm getting at. So it looks a little bit different. In Sweden,
True.
we have a green filter on top of things, which is the same as in Japan. Actually, people are very
Mm,
polite, very, very, very
mm.
friendly, very kind, very open-minded, very helpful, very honest. Same thing as in Japan. But if I told you Japan and Sweden are kind of the same, you would say, no, they're not. What are
Yeah.
you talking
Exactly.
about?
True.
Those are not the
Hmm.
same
Exactly.
cultures, but we have similarities, which is interesting.
True. True. Let me ask a question. Somebody was watching the episode and will say, "Oh my God, I heard that the leaders are blue." You understand? Like, oh, and I want to be a leader, top of the pyramid. Is it possible that a person, once knowing all the colors, can they push themselves towards a particular color, or it's embedded in people and it can't change?
Right, right. This is a question I get quite a lot. Can I change myself? And if so, how much can I change myself and still be myself? Well, here you have the problem. If you try to be, if let's say that you are green, just take this as an example because green
Hmm.
is the opposite of red, right? If you want to
Hmm.
be, if you are green but you want to be red, you can stretch yourself a little bit in the red direction, sure. If you are red and you want to be go green, which actually is more common than you might think, because red people have heard all their
Hmm.
life, you're kind of a bully, aren't you? Ah, just being
Yeah,
honest here, you should be more kind. So they want to stretch
true.
themselves to the green side, which is actually again more common than you might think. You can do that for a while to a certain extent, but you can't just switch places. You can't be someone that you are not, because that would violate your own personality. And when you try to be someone you are not, you can act in another color for half a day, a couple of hours. As I said before, I can go full green for before lunch, but then I'm just gonna explode because all this inner tension that it's gonna create.
Exactly,
if
true.
if you pretend to be someone you're not for too long, you're going to get stress related physical diseases. We have the data on this. We know this is true. You're going to get sick
Oof, really?
physically.
Uh-huh.
You're going to get PTSD and whatnot because you are now acting in a way that this isn't you. So then what do? Well, you have to accept who you are. You have to adapt in a certain situation, in a certain meeting, but you cannot violate the true you. It's not going to work over time. It's not going to work. Some people twitch this to say, okay, so I'm going to be myself every time. I said, that's not what I said. In a certain context, you need to adapt to the situation. If you go to a movie, you go to the cinema, you can't just sit there and eating snacks and yelling and laughing out loud because people will be furious. You have to shut up. Technical term, sorry.
True.
So,
True.
so you are adapted for 2 hours. Then you go home and then you have a conversation with your best friends about the movie you saw and all that, which is fine. which gives us this point. But I want to go in this direction and I don't have the color for it. Well, where should I place myself based on my personality style, based on my communication style, based on my, let's say, natural behaviors, let's call it, right? Where would you end
True.
up? Well, some of you listening and watching this will end up in a top management position because you can take it, you can do what it takes, and you can take
Hmm.
whatever downside comes with it. You're going to lose friends, you're going to get yourself in problems sometimes, you're going to sleep bad at night, you're going to work on Sundays. All of these things are true. If you can take those things, well, best of luck. If you say to yourself, ooh, that's really not really how I want to live my life, then you need to find another place, and you need to rid yourself of everybody else's expectations. If your parents told you you need to be a doctor and you have no blue in you whatsoever, the studies it's gonna be, those studies, those years at university is gonna be
Exactly.
brutal. Not
Hell.
saying you can't do
True.
it. I didn't say you can't do it,
Hmm.
but you have to invest so much time in something that isn't coming natural for you. So I wouldn't recommend it. And I can
True.
talk about
True.
this for hours and hours on end. So
Of
yeah,
course. Of
strong
course.
point.
Of course. I will move a little bit towards like the psychopaths. Is it possible for people to spot a manipulation in a very short period of time or not? Or manipulation gets over time?
Wow, that's quite a jump. Now we're talking about psychopaths. Yeah, I wrote a book about psychopathy
Yeah,
as well, Surrounded by
true.
Psychopathy, How to Avoid Being Manipulated. It's a tricky word.
True.
Speaking of hierarchies, because as you mentioned just now, uh, I said the higher up in a hierarchy, the more red you're going to see. Equally true, and
True.
this is very disturbing. And I see you read the book, I see that from your smile. Equally
Uh,
disturbing, the higher up in most hierarchies, especially where you can get power and make money, you will also run into more and more people with psychopathic behavioral traits, which is very nasty. This is not good people. Red people can be very good and very helpful. Psychopaths are bad people. These are predators. These are not good for anybody else. Uh, can you spot a psychopath? No.
mhm.
The quick answer is you can't.
Ooh.
You know,
Mhm.
depending on which kind of super expert and super intelligence you ask about psychopathy, you will find between 2 and 4% of the population on the planet being psychopaths, clinical psychopaths. That is more than a quarter of a billion people,
Well,
billion with a B. That's a lot of really
yeah.
nasty people. No wonder the world looks as it does, right? Because these people are there to sort of stir up and create chaos. They thrive on chaos. They have a white spot in their amygdala. They feel no fear. They have no flight or fright response. Sorry,
Uh,
flight or fight, or maybe freeze
yeah.
response. They don't feel fear, or they are just fascinated by a dangerous situation. Like a hyena on the prairie, right?
Hmm.
That will go after anything because it feels like it. Some of these ugly
True.
animals, they kill for the sake of killing, not necessarily because they're hungry.
Killing.
Like
True.
wolves, they kill,
Hmm.
and a fox kills
Exactly.
because it's a killer. It's a predator. Doesn't have to eat all, but it just kills. It's the same thing. They do it because they can do it. Psychopaths are nasty, and they are excellent manipulators. They are really, really good at hiding in plain sight, and they have practiced this for probably decades. And they know exactly how to trick you. I meet people from time to time said, "Yeah, I would spot them, 100 yards." No, you wouldn't. You would not do that because just by saying so means that you are not self-aware enough to understand. They know you better than you do. They have studied you from afar for months, and now they are sort of going in for the kill here, figuratively speaking, most of the time, thankfully.
True. Mhm.
Uh,
True.
yeah,
A lot of people confuse between being a true psychopath, a person as a true psychopath, or being toxic. So, are
yeah.
there a difference between a toxic person and a psychopath?
Well, psychopathy is obviously the toxic behavioral trait. That's for sure. But so is
Hmm.
also sort of a perfectionist or a drama queen or whatever. We can all be toxic in the wrong environment. This notion say, oh, it's a toxic work environment. These people are toxic. This is sort of we are sort of it's a contemporary issue. People are talking about toxicity, blah blah blah. I don't know. Some people are just not like you, and then you call them toxic, like again, calling someone an idiot is blaming them for
Hmm.
being toxic while they are just not like you. So I don't just buy into this let's say franchise at all. I would like to turn it around. When are you being toxic? When are you doing things that annoys other people? We are all the idiot in someone's story. We are all a problem in
Hmm.
somebody's book. That is just the way it is. Work on you and understand who you are, and try to again sort of polish the sharp edges within yourself a little bit, which is something that psychopaths will not do. Narcissists won't do this. Sociopaths, which is sort of a variety of a psychopath, just not born with these traits in their brain. They are been taught, or maybe been abused as kids. They can be sociopaths, but they act as a psychopath. These
Hmm.
labels are thrown around back and forth, but it's basically the same thing, uh, psychologically speaking. What was the question again? I
True.
get carried away here. I feel.
No, like the difference between a
Did
toxic
I help you
person
at
and a
all?
psychopath. Of course, it did. And that would take me to another question.
Right.
Like a psychopath can be a successful leader, or it's dangerous.
Do you know who I would say is the world's
Mm.
most famous psychopath? Would you help me to
Who?
make a guess here? Who might
No,
be
no,
the
no. I'll leave
world's
it to
most
you. Which one?
successful psychopath?
Successful psychopath. Huh?
Yeah, you know
I
you know
love
who
how
it
you
is.
put it.
You haven't met him, but you know who it is when I say the name.
Okay, who's that?
James Bond.
Oh, who?
Think about it.
Uh huh.
Charming,
Uh huh.
manipulative,
Yeah.
a womanizer, really smart. He's a serial killer. He takes any risks. He's elegant,
True.
witty, but he is also a murderer. And depending on where you are, which side of history you are on, is he the villain or is he the
Mm-hmm.
hero? You know his bosses, his
Exactly.
creators can make him do anything for the sake of what they think is the greater good. You don't have to agree with his missions and so on. But if there ever was a psychopath, it must be him. And then
True.
you can look at people like Stalin or Hitler or these kind of
Mm.
completely freaks. Of course, they were
Of course.
psychopaths, absolutely so. But psychopaths can be successful if you give them what they want. I mean, in a really
Mm-hmm.
stressful, uh, I never touch upon politics or religion. I just don't. But just say, for the sake
Mm-hmm.
of argument, you are in a war
True.
zone somewhere in the world, and you need someone to
True.
take a great risk for the greater good. Then a psychopath can be very successful and very helpful as well, as long as he gets what he
Mm.
wants from it, out of it, because they live
I
on
love
on
that.
on, on danger. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them do. They
Mm-hmm.
can also reach the top level in a business organization. They will step on a lot of toes and they will use people. That's the big difference between, let's say, for example, red behavior and a psychopath. A psychopath deliberately uses other people as just replaceable assets. It's just collateral damage. If someone gets stressed
Mm-hmm.
out or have to go home, or they throw themselves out from a building, they couldn't care less. I know it sounds traumatic. That's because it is traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
Psychopaths are not like you and I. We need to understand that. They are not misunderstood kids in a grown up's body. No, they are
Mm-hmm.
predators. They would kill your baby if you let them,
Mm-hmm.
like the hyena on the prairie. That is what a psychopath is. Most people have this sort of romantic vision. I can change them. No, you
No.
cannot change them. It's like telling someone who is colorblind, can you spot the colors? Doesn't matter what instructions you give them.
No.
They can't. They just can't. The psychopaths will never be as another person. That is just the way it is. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I love this angle. But let's move toward, not to take a lot of your time, to a little bit of narcissism. So, is narcissism these days More dangerous, I would say, more than ever, because it's more obvious now with regards to social media and so on and so forth, or it's
Mm.
like it's been always like this.
Narcissists have been around. I mean, Narcissus, from where came that old fable
Mhm.
thousands of years ago?
Mhm.
There are a variety of those very old and ancient stories who loved himself so much, so he just got stuck there by the lake. I, it's the same thing with narcissists. We have clinical narcissists as there are sort of white spots in their brains. You can see it on a brain scan. But then you have people who act as a
Mhm.
narcissist because of they are getting rewards for narcissistic behavioral traits, as in
Mhm.
self-indulgence or egotism, or showing yourself as an influencer on TikTok and so on. If you get people's admiration, you will be more and more narcissistic. If you do it for the kick, I mean, narcissist
Mhm.
wants to be in the center of things all the time. They can also be predators, but they have another goal than the psychopath. The psychopath uses people; they are predators. They use you
Mhm.
as a resource. A narcissist will use you as a resource in order to get in the center of things, to be the most important person in any room, everywhere. That is their main game. They want to feel like everyone is looking at them. Quite the opposite of what you want to see here in Sweden, because we hate
Mhm.
the spotlight here. We
Mhm.
just,
Yeah,
oh, that's quite scary. Really,
true.
don't look at me.
Mhm.
It's a cultural thing again.
True,
Same as in
true, true.
Japan, really. That's not. You should be humble. You should
Mm.
be humble. That's a Swedish trait. It's a Japanese trait, but it's not a narcissistic trait. And yes, social media sort of boosts narcissistic behaviors. I mean, if you act in a certain way, you can see the outcome is what I'm looking for. Then why wouldn't you continue on the same path? Of course, you're going to do the same thing because you get a rewarded for it. Why wouldn't you? And all
Mhm.
of a sudden, you lost yourself in this interesting social media game. And there was an interesting book written, I think, more than 10 years ago. It's called the Narcissistic Epidemic by two American psychologists. I would say
Mhm.
we have a narcissistic pandemic these days. Actually, I would say, I mean, look at Hollywood. Oh my!
Mhm.
I would say every second individual in Hollywood is a narcissist. Look at me! Look at me! Give me money and look at me! You're
Yeah,
looking at
true.
me.
Mhm.
Why are artists and the musicians and so on, why are they offering their views on politics or on religion, on what is happening and this and that, and commenting on other people? Why would we care what they think? These people are actors, yes, but they get the recognition and they get even more admiration, so they just can't seem to be quiet. It's a perfect example of
True.
narcissistic behaviors.
Exact. But how can we define a person like says like, no, no, I'm not a narcissist. I just have a high level of confidence. Do you hear this a lot?
Well, again, a narcissist is easier to spot than a psychopath. Again, you have to
Mhm.
observe somebody. You have to see if every conversation they slightly turn every topic into talking about themselves. If every sentence
Mhm.
starts with I or me, then you need to pay some attention. You just have to take a closer look at this individual. If look, if they seem to be quite disgruntled because you don't talk about them, it's probably a narcissist. It could also be a yellow person who likes to talk about themselves, but not to at any cost. They are not stupid. They know
True.
they can talk about themselves to a certain extent. Then to have sort of bring other people in. The narcissist will not do that. He will just sort of turn the focus on himself constantly.
Damn.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, but I have an opinion. Yeah, but one time this happened to me, and let me tell you about my journey in life and so on. And they just steal all the oxygen in the room. Um, yes. Can they
True,
help
true.
themselves? Is a question I get a lot. It's not their fault.
Mhm.
It doesn't really matter if it's their fault. It's still super annoying, and they will step on people's toes as well, and they will lie behind your back for their own sake. They
Of
will
course.
lie about you.
Mhm.
If they gossip about your friends, they will gossip about you. If they talk badly about some common acquaintance that you have
Mhm.
together, you're sharing, you have the same friend. You know, Mister, I don't know, just pick any name. You both know him or her.
Mhm.
and the narcissist is talking bad about this person to you. He is talking bad about you to this person. That's 100% sure. That is just the way they do it because they want to sort of play you two against each other. That will make them more
True.
important. And again, I'm sort of taking shortcuts here, but that's why I wrote a
Mm-hmm.
whole book on each and every topic about communication,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
psychopathy,
Exactly. Exactly.
narcissism, and energy vampires as well, by the way, which is about toxic people, but not the
Mm-hmm.
clinical
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis. So, Liars is the latest book, by the way. Surrounded by
Yeah,
liars.
I still am gonna read this one. But let me ask you the question here. When
Mm,
we spoke about psychopaths, you said they're unfixable. They're gonna be always psychopath. What about narcissists?
same thing.
They can heal from it in a
No,
way.
no, it's the
Same
same
thing.
thing. It's the same thing. It's not as worse as a psychopath, but the thing is, again, it is like a color blindness. That's actually a good comparison. Will you get less colorblind as you grow older? No. We start to see the colors now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people claim that might be the case when it comes to the worst predators. They slow down a little bit as they grow older. That could be the
Mm-hmm.
case, but most people slow down when they grow older. So
True.
I passed the big 50 some years ago. Am I slower now than when I was 22? Probably. I'm more impatient now because I know
Mm-hmm.
the number of days that I have at my disposal are sort of getting fewer and fewer. So I'm quite impatient. But some of my inner reactions are slower. I think it's the same thing with
Mm-hmm.
these manipulation people. They slow down
True.
a tiny bit. Will they change? No, they will never change. And every
Mm-hmm.
woman who thinks, well, I can change him, she is wrong. She's dead wrong. I'm sorry.
Bro.
That's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You won't
True.
change them. It's a narcissistic thought to think I can change a psychopath. A narcissist might think so because
Oh,
they have
who?
a high confidence, as you mentioned, self confidence.
Ah.
They
Mm-hmm.
think highly of
Correct.
this.
Got
I
it.
can change him. I could turn Hannibal Lecter around. And no, you couldn't. That's just stupid thinking. Forget about all of that.
True. I love that. Let me ask you a couple of quick questions, which are rapid fire, which is which color lies the most?
Impossible to answer.
Impossible.
Blue people lie the least.
Ah, okay. The opposite spectrum.
Yeah.
Which color makes the most money?
I have no data. I have to go with gut feeling. Then I would say red and yellow
Yeah,
because they are
red and
usually more
yellow.
entrepreneurial and they get
Mm-hmm.
rewarded for it, hopefully.
Which,
They lose a lot of money also, by the way.
hopefully.
Yeah,
Which color becomes the most dangerous when they're angry?
red. They can get
Ooh.
furious. Well,
Now,
by the way, there is a saying, what would it be if I translate it into English? Beware of a patient man's wrath, you know. That would be a green person
mm-hmm.
who hides his feelings. But when he actually lets the lid off, the lid comes off, it could get
True.
dangerous. It could get dangerous. The problem with Reds is they're angry all the time. So that sort of stresses people out
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit. But red anger can be devastating. Sorry, a green anger. Sorry, my mistake.
Green.
A green
It's
anger
like a
can be
tornado or a
devastating.
volcano.
Yeah, yeah.
Which color, like, people should not date?
Should not
Like
date.
going to dating part. Date,
Oh,
yeah.
your own color, maybe.
Uh-huh.
When it
Mm-hmm.
comes to dating and building a relationship and possible marriage, I would say the following. I would say you should look for someone who is a little bit like you, but not identical to you. If you're identical, you're gonna get bored. If they are too different from you,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get in conflict constantly. Make sure you are not like this, well, not like this, but not like this either. You
Mm-hmm.
should be a little bit like
True.
this. So look for someone
True.
who is have some of your persona, but isn't identical. Someone who is, if you're yellow, look for someone who is yellow and red, perhaps, or maybe yellow and green.
True. I
There are
love
no
that.
straightforward
And the
answers
last one we
because
spoke
it's
about it. Exactly. But actually, it's not straightforward, but
no
it's super hitting the target. Absolutely.
great.
We answered this question, but I will repeat it again. Which color produces the best entrepreneurs? It's a mixture of red and
So it produces the best.
entrepreneurs, business people.
I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, and they are usually, I mean, in the tech industry, they can be quite blue because they started, programming
Mm-hmm.
something. I mean, Google, Microsoft was founded by blue people, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gates is blue. Both Sergey Brin and Larry Page is blue. Steve Jobs wasn't blue. He was weird.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people think he's a
True.
hero, but
True.
yeah. So
True.
they start with a product, and they just sort of. But the thing is, extroverted people they make connections with people. They sell. They are more outgoing. They meet people. They build networks. And in order to be an entrepreneur, you need to have your own network of people. You have advisors, and you have people you can sort of share experiences with, and compare notes with, and so on. Your peers are probably also quite extrovert and sort of risk oriented a little bit. It's okay to take some,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully calculated, but still some risk, right? My favorite example of
True.
entrepreneurship is, as I don't know if you were aware, but in Europe, especially in Scandinavia, around the year 1900, 125 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
20% of every Swede, Norwegian, Finn, and Dane went to America because we have a
Mm-hmm.
great famine here. People were starving. All of these countries were super poor. No one had anything at all ever. We were sort of, plagued by wars and just no one had anything. So people jumped in the boats and went to America
Mm-hmm.
without knowing really what they were facing. Now, what colors would do that? What colors would just pick, pack the bags, put the family in, and just go for 3 weeks, crossing the ocean, trying to build a new future?
Mm-hmm.
Extroverts,
True.
reds and yellows, leaving the greens and the
Mm-hmm.
blues behind. Not saying they wouldn't survive in America, they probably would, but they were too risk averse, thinking, I don't know, I'm not sure, who knows what's out there. And the other ones just jumped in the boat and let's see what happens. And this is, for me, a way of looking at entrepreneurship. Sometimes you just need to just get in the boat and see where
Jump.
it can take
True.
you. Sometimes you fall into the water. Fair enough, that can happen. Make sure you have your life vest and you have some system to protect you a little bit, protect your family, all of those things. But if you are afraid of taking risks, you will never get in the boat. So I would say extrovert people, which is
True.
red and yellow, probably a lot of
I love that.
successful entrepreneurs. Does it make sense?
Mm. Of course. Of course. Lovely said. There is a section called the pure human behind alpha. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions,
Sure.
more of about you. So, when in your life did you feel the most misunderstood?
The most misunderstood. Hmm.
Mm.
Probably when I told my family I wanted to write books. And they just looked at me and said, sure, but why? Why would you want to do that? You're a banker. You should work at the bank. That was not good. Not
Of
good. No
course.
one, no one,
Of
they still
course.
hardly understand what I'm doing at all, really. So,
Of course. Of course. Of course. What pain or incident made you want to understand humans so deeply? Is there was a pain or an incident that happened?
I told you about the incident at the bank when I was really, really
Mm.
young.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
was pain. There's another incident as a management consultant when I went to a business meeting, meeting a guy who constantly said he was surrounded by idiots, older guy, now my age probably, I would guess. But I was 30 then, and he was maybe 60 or something, I don't know. And he said he was surrounded by idiots, and I asked him who brought in all the idiots, and he kicked me out of the meeting. He just said, "Next time I'm going to have my shotgun with me. Don't come back." That was quite painful, seriously, and quite scary.
True. True.
He was angry. He was angry.
Yeah. Who brought them
It's a
in?
true story.
It's
The
you.
details are horrible, horrible. It's a
Exactly.
long story, but
Exactly.
ugh.
Who's who is one person you still wish understood you better even today?
Who is one person I would still?
You wish that they understood you better even today,
Hmm,
after all this.
I would say my father.
Father.
Rest his soul. I would say my father. We never had a really, really great conversation about where my life is heading. Probably because he
Mhm.
was a part of something called the silent generation, way, way, way back. They just didn't
Mhm.
speak about these things. They didn't talk about these things. No.
Do you have a belief that you still battle with internally?
So it is scratching a little bit, actually.
No worries, no worries. Do you have a belief that you're still battling with internally? A particular belief?
I am a bit of a traditionalist in a sense that I think we all have, I think we all owe ourselves and maybe humankind to figure out why we are here. I think we all are on the planet to play a certain role. We are here for a certain purpose. I sincerely believe so. I was
True.
unfortunately, I wish I had figured this out much younger, actually. Then I wouldn't be spending 14 years in a bank, really. I think there is a reason why we exist. And I think it's everybody's, I would say, responsibility to try to figure it out and do as best as you can without hurting other people. It's possible to live your dream, to contribute to the world, to the society, to humankind, without deliberately hurting other people. Some people say this is for the greater good, but we have to actually accept some casualties. I don't buy into that at all. I think it is possible to do really, really good work here, regardless of where you are in life, in what capacity, industry, in your private life, or whatever, without hurting other people. Sometimes you might do it uh, not deliberately, but it happens for by accident.
True.
Clean that up, move on.
Of
That's
course.
a belief that I am carrying with me every day, actually.
If I would ask you, which is the last question, is to complete a particular statement for me. And the statement says, in the end, understanding human behavior taught me the biggest mistake people make is what?
The biggest mistake people make is using themselves as a role model, thinking
Whew.
I am the way. No,
Hmm.
you have to have a high level of narcissism in you, or be some sort of messiah, if it's okay that I say so. You can
Hmm.
use that any
Yeah, of
capacity you
course.
like to.
Of course.
Uh, I think a lot of people are using themselves as some sort of blueprint for how things is supposed to be, but it isn't. We have to adapt to each other. You can never change somebody else, but you can change yourself. That's the way to go.
True. I loved it. I loved it. Thomas, it's been an amazing conversation. I personally enjoyed it so much, and I'm sure once the episode is published, all the audience of the Alpha Talks will really enjoy it. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to see you when you come to Dubai. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
That wraps another inspiring episode of today's show. I hope that this episode has ignited your inner alpha and left you feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to conquer any challenge that comes your way. Remember, alphas aren't born, they're made. It isn't about dominating others, it's about embracing your authenticity, leading with integrity, and making a positive impact on the world. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the Alpha Talks on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a review and share the podcast with your fellow alphas. Also connect with us on social media at Seif El Hakim. Share your thoughts, insight, and stories of personal and business growth with us. Let's create a movement of alphas supporting one another. The world needs more alphas like you exactly. Until next time, stay bold, stay driven, and stay alpha.